Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Producer's Treasure Box. Your host, Fermi, here. I just want to thank you all for listening again. It is just super cool to have you tune in each and every week when I drop new episodes of musicians making music, making money, getting their stuff out there, and making dreams come true. I hope that this episode and many more episodes in my roster have helped you, inspired you, and given you tips for not only how to make better music, but also how to have a better mindset when it comes to marketing music, branding music, and just being a creative person in general. I do like to bring my real life experiences to this show, and I know that today's episode is going to be one of those moments. Today, I've got my man, Bruce Zalcer, coming to us all the way from Panama. And I'll tell you what, he has got just a cool insight and cool mindset when it comes to music and life. I like the guy because he's got children just like myself. And he has gone through a lot of different things in his life and has had a professional career in the corporate world. And he talks about that in the show where, you know, he just wanted to go back at this point and get more creative. He's been having a lot of success releasing techno tracks on labels, and they've been getting major play. And I'll tell you, I'm just super excited to bring this guy to you. His mindset really stuck out to me. He likes to drop videos on Instagram where he drops a little bit of daily inspiration and kind of frames things up for people. You know, I think a lot of people just get too serious, too dramatic, sometimes want to throw their hands in the air. But what we need to do is remember that there is so much to be grateful for. There is so much to be, proud of in our lives. And Bruce spoke about those things on Instagram, which is why I reached out and said, yo, bro, you got to get on the show. All right, with that being said, please jump over to Spotify, jump over to Facebook, jump over to Apple Podcasts, and drop a review for my show. It just would mean the world if you could share this episode with a friend. So copy, a share link, send it to them via text, send it to your Facebook wall, send it to your Instagram stories, because spreading the word to other musicians and other creative people who are just looking for inspiration and detailed insights into the tools that we can use to make better music, but also the mindsets that we need to be armed with. Man, that's what this show is all about. All right, with that being said, let's jump into it. Here is my boy Bruce. Let's get into the interview right now. Let's go. All right, I got my man Bruce Zalcer right here in the house. He is coming with some heat, and he's got a lot to share with us today around a lot of topics. But welcome to the show, first and foremost.
My pleasure, and I appreciate, Fermi, your invitation and the opportunity to be here.
Definitely, man. Well, we got started pre-hitting record, and we already started talking about a lot of things that you've got coming down the hatch, and you've got some new music coming out, as well as an awesome new website. By the time this post, that website's probably up, but I was hoping you could tell us what the website is all about. It's not just about music, right?
What we're trying to do with the website is tell a story, and an ongoing story. I started doing what I'm doing right now, like less than 2 years ago. Before that, I was an amateur musician my whole life. I played in a band in high school, stuff like that, yada, yada. But I hadn't done anything formal with my music. And let's say, for example, 1995, I was 13 years old. We went to a recording studio. We, with a band, recorded a song. You had to pay $120 or something like that per band member for a day. Dang. Or something like that. And you would understand that for a person, growing up, or a person not having the funds to allocate to that, that's just impossible,
100%.
And not only that, but the masters got lost. So, yeah. So what I wanted to say is that, you talk about this more if you want, is that the opportunities, and this is something that I've said a lot on my Instagram posts, the opportunities that we have nowadays to make music weren't available when I was graduating high school or college, 20 years ago. So I just jumped into life. I started working. I graduated from college. I live in Panama City, Panama. I went to college in the U.S. So started working and, life in corporate insurance firm, brokerage firm, and owned by my father. And just settled into life, there was always something missing. And I really didn't know what it was. I tried writing and pursue other things, got more into playing guitar, but there was nothing formal. I got married, children, and then a couple of years ago, 2017, I had like a period of soul searching. Like I felt something really was missing, or there was something not right. I remembered a song that I had never really played. It's called Straight Outta Compton from NWA. I had never really played that type of music, hip hop or rap or anything. I was always more into hard rock and heavy metal. And I remember those MTV documentaries, whatever, and I looked for the song in Spotify, which is something it also didn't have 15, 20 years ago, or 10, and just started listening to a new type of music. And I decided I wanted to produce music. And then that has evolved into what I'm doing right now, which is more producing techno and performing. But that gave a new meaning to my life. And I think there's a lot of people who are in the same situation as I am, who entered corporate job or doing something just to get a job when they finished college or high school or whenever, and really are now like looking to do something that they like or that they enjoy more, or something, or their passion. It's not that what they do they don't like or whatever, but and music for me was always part of my life. And so I want people who are in a similar or in the same situation as I am to identify what I'm doing, to be able to relate, like even if they don't like the music that I'm making, even though maybe their passion is writing or their passion is, woodcrafting or whatever. I want people to be able to relate not only with my story in the sense of what happened, but what's happening right now. And I am inviting people to connect and tell their stories in my website, so we can have sort of like a community, place where people can share and find people who have a common situation, if you want to put it that way.
I love that. Dude, okay, you're giving me chills because there's no other way to describe that than badass. I mean, you're basically telling everybody out there your full story, putting it out there, but something was missing. And that was that music. And now you're into it hardcore. And you're a full-fledged artist at this point, man. Like when I found your material, I was super excited to hear it. And in addition to that, I knew there was more to your story. And I'm so glad to know this part now because, I'll be checking out that website. One of the first posts that you had that I got exposed to on Instagram was actually not even about music, man. You were just looking into the camera, talking about gratitude. And I feel like that's part of your message, right? It's about making amazing music, but more so it's about fulfilling your heart's desire and that piece of you that is just authentically you. And you got to find a way to do it.
Definitely. I mean, with messages of gratitude that I've been doing in my Instagram, which I really didn't do social media until like 2 years ago. And I'm trying to do Twitter and all the things, but I basically do Instagram. It's a message of gratitude. We have a lot of things in our lives and that we really don't think about that much. I'm not talking about a house, a car, or food. For example, the ability to make music in a computer that costs $200 with a software that costs $200 or maybe free. That's something you didn't have before.
Totally.
The internet, be able to see tutorials on YouTube. That's stuff that to live in a house with indoor plumbing, that those things are good, but they also give you a peace of mind that you can focus on other things.
Yeah.
And I think that we draw energy into our lives. And the energy that we issue or that we provide is what we get back. And there's two alternatives. Either complain about the wrong or the things that you feel wrong and say, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And I'm sure that if you do that, you're not going to get good results. Or say, I'm grateful for what I have and I'm grateful and find things to be grateful for. And the more gratitude you express, the more things you're going to get in return. You want to talk about God or the universe or however you want to put it. There's something, in my opinion, that's giving us what we have.
Yeah.
And if we complain about that entity or that energy is not going to be really happy, because I think we live in the Western world. We have a lot of advantages that a lot of people in other parts of the world don't.
Absolutely.
Nobody chose to be born where they were born. So for us to be here, it's something I think we need to be grateful for.
100%. Look around and realize what you got going on, right? I mean, to your point, you're talking about indoor plumbing. I mean, that lays a foundation for us not to worry about all these other things. And in addition to that, we're in the age where technology is just supporting us so much. We're able to look at people that are making music on YouTube. You can learn from that. You can record on your computer. I mean, when you talked about $120 per person per hour or whatever, oh my goodness, that freaked me out, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, it wasn't per hour. It was per day or 2 days. I don't remember. It was a lot of money, though.
Yeah, either way, like that's money that we don't have to put out right now. You can get into your room basically and record some music. We actually had some people that are in college and in high school on this show. And one guy recorded a song on a pair of Apple AirPods. That's how he actually got his vocals into the song. I was like, oh my gosh. And it sounded fine, man. So these guys are lucky. These guys are lucky.
Definitely, yeah.
So tell me a little bit here. I'm curious to go down this path of the website, right? What was it like? I know some musicians don't have websites to listen to our show. Some do. Personally, myself, when I put together my website, it was actually a little bit more complicated than I thought and frustrating. You have to collaborate with somebody else unless you're a designer yourself. So how did this process work for you?
I'd say I wanted to put a website. I think that it's important. At least I think we do what we do ourselves. And I want to explain that. Like I always look for websites, like when I'm look for a brand or something. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like our business card or presentation card to the world. And it was, like you said, and I identified with that it was more complicated than what I thought. Much more.
Yeah.
And I think working with artists is just complicated. I am an artist and I consider myself an artist. I create art, but I think that we're passionate about what we do. And it's not always a pragmatic thing that you want to get it done quickly or you want to do it in a certain way.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to work with a lady that has designed my website and worked with me. And initially, when she started asking questions, I'm like, why is this relevant? Like, what are your thoughts on this picture? You know, we want to focus on our music. I want to do music. And everything that interrupts that is just annoying.
Totally.
And the website take away an hour or 2 hours from a day where you could be recording or mixing. It's painful.
Yeah.
But I think it's necessary. I think it's important. I think it gives credibility to your brand. And right now, as musicians, I know that these things some people don't want to say it because you have to be an artist or whatever, but it's the truth. I mean, we are the truth. I mean, you're creating a brand, and that's why logos are important. That's why your attitude is important. That's why what you put out is important. And there needs to be some coherence. Absolutely. So I think that the website should be a part of your whole strategy as a musician and a place where somebody can go and get more information about you. That's what you want to do. I think it's important.
Absolutely. And I don't mean to scare my audience away. You got to get that website up, like Bruce just said, to look professional, to have that credibility, to build that brand. But just be prepared. You know what I mean? It's not going to be super easy. If you try to do it yourself, you're going to be learning a lot of things. I think people just say, oh, get WordPress, download WordPress, just download that and you can edit your own theme. It's a little bit more complicated. So if you're a musician who's not up for that, you just want to focus on your music or you got other things going on, hire somebody out. But even with that, just be ready to really get used to explaining yourself, right? Being clear about what you want, because artist to artist interpretation happens and then things start getting a little wacky at times.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think you said it very well. Yeah.
So my man, I actually want to jump into one of your tracks right now. What is a track that you want to feature on the show, and what's something that we might want to know about this song?
I think we should talk about Zalcer and The Savior, which are two tracks that are going to be released by two labels. It should be by mid-March, early April.
Nice. All right. So we got Zalcer. Let's jump into the track right now and get a taste of what Bruce is making in the studio. Cool, man. Well, hey, Zalcer is rocking. I love the track, dude. It's got a lot of energy. and you're coming in with some raw techno. Why did you go to the techno vibe? I mean, you started talking about getting inspired by NWA, and you used to listen to rock. Like, how do you think that you got into this style?
Yeah, basically my whole life I listened to heavy metal, hard rock, and jam bands, by the way, also. And there was also a time that I listened a lot to like blues and a lot of, electric guitar type of music. Like I said, NWA, and just randomly I was in my bedroom and I think came back from the gym, and then I remember that song and I played it, and then I started playing like hip hop rap from the early 90s, which is music that I had heard in MTV, but I was, never really a fan of. And then some like the trap artists like Gucci Mane and stuff like that. And when I sat down to make the music, it was more of a lounge type of music than an actual hip hop or yeah. And then I was sort of like evolving. I wanted to do more like dance music. And one night I was like YouTubing, looking for like videos. And then like this festival, like this techno DJ, Charlotte David, like came on, and I just heard that bass drum and I'm like, wow. 1999, 2000, I had enjoyed trance music a lot and started like DJing a little bit. So I really didn't know what techno was exactly. Then I started looking into it more, and I really like, this is what I want to do. It's a type of music. It's dark, and I've always been drawn into more like dark type of music. Dark is a way of describing it, but it's not necessarily all dark. So that's how I started doing techno, and I had to basically learn again, because producing techno is very different than producing R&B or trap or lounge type of music. So and that was just mid last year. That was around 2019.
100%. I love that, man. And touching on that, you and I just chatted a bit. So my music particularly is more on the hip hop realm. And a lot of the people on my show so far have been, but this show is all about different types of producers who use electronic instruments and computers, like bottom line, right? But you were saying like, don't call techno artists EDM, because technically EDM is more on the dancey vibe, and some people will splice the words, right? And you touched just now that producing techno is so much different than the other types of beats out there. What's so different about it? I mean, obviously I hear a difference, but when it comes to producing it, what is that process, man? It seems like there's a lot more evolving synthesizers and different things going on.
Yeah, I think that, and really it's just as an opinion or the way that I approach making the music. When I was making other types of music, or I'm not going to say like more trappish, loungy type of music, like the melody just came first. When I was producing, I started doing a melody, and then, kick drum, 808, and the 808 and the 808 kick relationship with the melody is very important in that type of music. And in techno, I found out that there's a whole rhythm or groove that needs to be coherent. A lot of instruments, not only the percussion or the melody. You want to have everything sort of like doing the same thing in the different instruments. So there needs to be a lot of focus on the frequencies and how to say a hi-hat, a bass line, and a tom doing similar, like the same groove. Then, you need to be able to mix everything properly. And there is no such thing as like, I wouldn't consider like a strong melody in techno. There's a lot of effects and synths that come in and come out, at least the way I produce it. So I had come from a type of like melodic type of music where the guitar or where the piano was top or the most important part. And I'm talking about the producing. I'm not talking about the way that the listener perceives it, because the listener would always be drawn by the melody, which is like the singable part. But at least here, I had to be very concerned, very careful about the groove. The groove just made the song, and everything else was just like spices.
Love that. Love that. Well, these tracks are coming out really soon, right? When are they coming out exactly?
Yeah. Pulsar was signed by a label that's owned by a gentleman here in Panama City, and I met him through social media, Instagram, and he invited me to join a couple of release, and I accepted, and that's coming out, should be coming out mid-March. It's going to come out on Beatport initially, exclusively for a couple of weeks, and then it will be available in all major platforms.
Dope. Love it, man. And actually, I want to dig into that a little bit more. But first, let's check out your other track called The Savior, and we'll get into that story as well. All right. We heard that track. And dude, before we hit the music, you mentioned that you met somebody on social media. These tracks are coming out on Beatport, but you got to talk to the crew here on my podcast. What is going on? I saw you on Instagram actually posting again about being grateful for signing tracks over to these labels. You are producing these songs in your house. You're realizing the benefits of the awesome technology in our hands right now, but you're still working with labels. Why do you choose to do that instead of self-releasing? Talk to us a little bit about that.
It's obviously been something that I've thought about, and I think that for the type of music that I'm producing, at least right now, I want the support of a label. You know, a label will be able to promote your music, get it into the right places. And I'm not talking here about albums. At least in this type of music or in this genre and techno, that's the way most people do it, you know?
Yeah.
They use labels because you're not signing away your career, or you're not signing away your life to a label. You're just signing a song. So, and if you get a good deal on that, then if you actually get to make a lot of money with that song, then you'll be making money anyway.
Yeah.
But whenever you're signing a contract, you need to be, even if it's for $1 or for $1 million, you need to check the words on the contract, or the whatever's written there. And I've gotten good deals with the labels, and I really don't have the time right now to create my own label, to do all the artwork, to do all those things. And I guess, but it just really depends on the genre of music and the way that you're making music, you know. Rock and roll should be a lot different. If you come from a typical American, like rock and roll, hip hop, I don't know, background, then you kind of are surprised of why are we using a label. And I'm like, the person I was making the website with, like, why don't you have control over your stuff? And we do have certain control, but they are right now the ones that have the contacts and have everything to release the music. So they own that song. They don't own everything I make. I'm free to do what I want with whatever, you know, I make. That's why a lot of electronic musicians own labels. That I think is a future step. I shouldn't be doing that right now.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier too, it's like you got to be focusing on the music. I think this was in relation to websites that you said that. So it seems like an extension of that line of thinking, right? Like, okay, you're going to work with the label. You're going to give them a little bit of the cut on whatever profits made on the songs and blah, blah, blah. But the point is that you're not working on the album covers. You're not building up a huge network of people. You're not sending it out to DJs. You're not getting it listed on beat. You're not doing all these other things that these guys can do. You're kind of hijacking their systems for a little bit.
Exactly.
Cool, man. Exactly. Well, I'm excited to hear these tracks come out, and I really wish you success on it. Do you have any tips for the listeners if they're wanting to reach out to labels and work with labels in the future as well?
The first tip, and it's everything, you know, comes in its time, you know. You start making music, and when you're ready, you know that you'll be ready. And this kind of contradicts what I just said, but throw your music out, you know. You can't sit down and wait until everything is perfect. I sent songs to a label, and the person told me, like, we're just starting this, we're very busy. And then I get an email on Sunday morning, this is another label telling me, dude, you're really good, we really like what we're doing. And I had a track signed to a label associated with a major institution in less than a week. And my whole status, if you want to put it that way, changed. So be careful and just be consistent. You know, that's the most important thing. You know, do something every day. Do something every day, and don't expect success to mean what you see in Instagram or what you see in social media, like cars and jewelry and whatever. That may come. But that doesn't mean, if you don't have that, it doesn't mean you're not successful.
Well, hey, one last thing too. I forgot to ask you, man, some of your favorite hardware or software for music, especially related to techno. I'm super curious, and I know our fans love this part of our show.
Yeah, well, software, Ableton Live, it's for me, it's a perfect DAW for making music. I've used Logic, and for this type of music, Ableton. In terms of hardware, the Moog Sub 37 for me is something that I wanted to get for a while. I just got it, and I think it's perfect for this type of, for techno and other type of similar type of music. And I don't know, all the things, Acid 303, but I know you mentioned modular. Modular synthesis is like something that I enjoy. It's just it's like exploring something different every time. And
Right.
You get to choose what you mix. There's no pre-established connection, so you have to be in charge of that, and it just opens the door for a lot of creativity, both for studio and live performance. So
exactly. You actually reminded me, I forgot, I saw you jamming with modular synths on Instagram, and I've seen a lot of people doing it, but to be honest, I don't understand it. I've never really touched one and done anything. So, the basic explanation is you're just connecting different circuits together and modulating the signal, right?
Yeah, so I don't even understand it that well. It's like you're building your own synth. Say, if a car has certain parts.
Yeah.
But it's like you're mixing like the wheels with the chairs, and you're doing it your own way, and in the end it just runs. Yeah. But it runs differently. So you're putting a module like an oscillator and a filter, and you can put the filter. It's like building your own synth, or just connecting it the way that you want to connect it.
I'm walking away thinking, okay, it's Legos for musicians. Got it.
Yeah.
You just build what you want. If you want 5 wheels, you get 5 wheels, which might be 5 filters. If you want to do this or that, it's like a car with 1 wheel, whatever. like when the kids are playing.
Something like that, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people reach out and find out more about you? Where do you want them to go to look you up?
Well, I think that my website, bruzezalcer.com, and my Instagram, which is Bruze Zalcer Music. Name is sort of like not a typical name, so I'm sure you're going to write it down. So I think Instagram and my website, there you can connect with me directly, and a pleasure to talk to you and share whatever information you want or anything that you need.
Reach out to this guy and give him a follow. The links for everything he just mentioned are going to be down in the show notes, because as always, I want you to go follow. The audience needs to follow these guys and support their music.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate having me here and the opportunity to share with your listeners.
All right, everybody. I hope that interview shines some light onto the creative process of this techno artist, Bruce Zalcer, that was on the episode today. I want to go back to something he said in the very beginning of the episode towards the front, and that is how critical it is to have your own website, but how it is also important to do some detailed storytelling about who you are as a musician, and just to the state of life. Somehow can you tie your story into something that is universal, that everybody can actually associate with? One of the common ways to do that is through the hero's journey. If you don't know exactly what that means, Google it, but I will give you a brief explanation right now. Think about something like the Lord of the Rings, or a lot of the Batman movies, a lot of the big movies out there, basically. You follow a hero coming from nothing, or maybe, without any expertise or without any tools to defeat an enemy, and you follow them on their journey to success. That is something that I think we can all associate with, because we all start from nowhere and we got to build our way up. All right, everybody, please share this episode like I said in the intro. I appreciate y'all listening today. Let's head out with one more track from Bruce on the outro. Peace.